Hey everybody, Tim here with tonight's episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 9, Move Along Home. This was a good episode. I actually really enjoyed this episode. I guess it gets a lot of hate because it's like way out in left field. But you know what? That's what I like about it. I enjoy episodes like that. It kind of reminds me of a classic Doctor Who episode, the Celestial Toy Maker. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. So it turns out that the Vulcans have encountered this new race from the Gamma Quadrant called the Wadis, and they've sent them through. And the second they walk through the door, which Cisco is like all in dress uniform and ready to greet them, they're like, "Where's Quarks? We want to go play games." And I'm like, "Hey, that's a species for me. Like, I'm down for that." So they go to Quarks, and they just start playing games, and they're doing really well for playing all these games. Now, in the meantime, we see a little bit of Jake in this episode, and it's kind of interesting because he's like showing interest in girls, and he's still hanging out with Nog, which is a problem. But he mentions that he's 14, and I think that's the first time he said that he's 14, or at least the first time that I registered. Because it's interesting, because I'm pretty sure that's how old Wesley was in the first season of The Next Generation. I think he was 14 or maybe 15. But I think it's interesting that they go for like that childlike presence for somewhere in the crew. Although personally I like Wesley more than Jake, but that's just me. So anyways, we go to, they're playing all these games, the Wadi are playing all these games at Quark's, and Quark ends up starting to cheat, and he's like, because he's tired, he's ready to go home. So he wants to cheat. They catch him, and instantly he's like, how about a free spin, or we'll just keep playing, or how about a free holo suite? And then like as soon as he offers the free holo suite, they're like, no. And he's like, do you have sex on your world? And I was like, did he say that? Like, he basically just admitted that the holosuites are used for like sex and prostitution. So I was like, wow. Like, although is it considered prostitution if they're holograms? Like, I don't know how that works. That's a whole different level of questioning, which kind of goes back to Barclay. But anyway, anyways, there's some fun stuff like Odo is still dealing with the Starfleet officer, and like he's like, don't call me constable, call me chief of security. And it's like, Odo is a constable, so I thought that was kind of weird. So anyways, who is it? It's Dr. Bajir, Dax, Major Kira, and Commander Sisko are just transported in their sleep into this game, the Chula, which I looked it up. It's like Chula is Chutes and Ladders, and it's even like a 3D game that's kind of similar. So I was like, oh, that was a little bit of a stretch, but I still dig it. I'm totally down for this. And they have to go through different stuff. Like, they have to play hopscotch, where they have to both, like, do the jumps as the little girl's doing them and recite the rhyme. They have to, they're put in this room with all this smoke, which I don't know if that's an allegory for, like, people smoking while at parties. I mean, this was the early 90s, and I mean, I used to smoke in bars, so I think that's what it's a reference to. And, like, the smoke is, like, causing them to cough, and they can't breathe unless they start drinking the liquid. And I was like, that's what it was like to smoke in a bars. You gotta do both. So, I don't know, maybe there's that. I love the scene. So, Quark finally realizes that all of his roles are affecting these 4 officers, because Odo says, like, oh, we had 4 officers go missing. And Quark, they offer Quark, they're like, okay, you can either like do the short path, but it's double the danger and double the reward, or take the safe path, which is longer but less money. And Quark's like, well, and Odo's like, Quark! And he's like, okay, I'll do the short path. Or I'll do the long path, the safe path. And he like holds the dice out. He's like, Odo, blow on these. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that he's just like, blow on these, but whatever. It was just kind of funny because I like the Quark and Odo dynamic. I think they work really well together. Finally, as they continue to go through the games, Dr. Bajir is what is thought to be killed. He's taken out of the game because of a bad roll. And then finally it gets to like the big moment. You're at the very end and Quark is sure of himself. He's like, okay, if I do a dangerous roll, like it's like Dungeons and Dragons. He's like, as long as I don't get like a 1, then they're home safe. Well, he does this spin, and then you see Sisko, Kira, and Dax. And Dax hurts her leg, and they're on this cliff, and there's all sorts of stuff going wrong. And Dax even says, well, 7 lives is more than enough for a Trill, leave me. So now I think that's a firmly established canon. She said 7 lives. So we'll see. I'm going to try to keep track of that to see if it changes in the continuity. But they end up all falling off the cliff, and as soon as they do, they magically appear back in Quark's. And Quark is like, I won! I got a 20! He doesn't say 20, this is just for the D&D nerds. The Wadi are like, no, you actually lost. And Kira freaks out. She's like, you mean we were never in any real danger? And the Wadis are just like, it's a game. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I love this episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was really interesting. The sets are great. Just kind of watching all the different stuff that they have to go through. I'm assuming this whole episode cost a fortune. But I think it was really interesting. It's also kind of noteworthy. O'Brien was not in the last episode, and he wasn't in this episode because he was on Earth with his mother-in-law. So I don't know if that was Colin Meaney filming the last few episodes of The Next Generation, or if he was actually on vacation, or what that was. But it's just kind of interesting that he's not in there, and they do talk about that. Overall, yeah, I love this episode. Now that we're done with this episode, we're already halfway through the first season, which is great. We are making great pace. As long as if you're on the YouTube, we're making great pace. If you're on the Facebook, I only do 3 episodes a day. So either way, you guys are all amazing. I appreciate every single one of you. I couldn't do this without you guys. I will see you guys next time for the Nagus.